Welcome to Parent Teacher Night. Oh, yes, Miss Garner.
If you have one of those airline credit cards, you're probably not earning double miles on every purchase.
You're right. My card only gets extra miles on some types of purchases.
With the Capital One Venture Card, you earn unlimited double miles everywhere.
Wait, but where can we use them?
You can use Capital One Venture Miles on any travel purchase.
Venture gets an A+.
Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.
Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 140 called Katie and Emily. Today's episode is brought to you by BELI, prenatal vitamins that help get your body the healthiest it can be to welcome a new little life. BELI's vitamins are formulated to optimize fertility and prenatal health for men and women through all stages of pregnancy, from conception through to post-pregnancy. BELI's revolutionary science-based formulation fuels your fertility to help support egg quality, promote hormonal balance, and increase your overall fertility health. BELI for men prenatals are specially formulated with clinically proven nutrients optimized to help increase sperm count, help improve sperm morphology and motility, and boost overall fertility. To get started with BELI, go to belibaby.com and use code ALLIE15 for 15% off your first month of either BELI Women or BELI Men. Again, it's belibaby, BELIBABY.com, and use code ALLIE15, ALI15, for 15% off. Thanks, BELI. All right, guys. So today's story is so damn good and incredible. This is the story of 2 sisters who each have their own infertility journeys, but they are also very much intertwined. So the gist of it is that both Emily and Katie had one child, and then in 2019, their world was rocked when Emily was diagnosed with appendix cancer. So after a surgery that took her ovaries, Katie donated eggs to Emily so she could try for her second kid. And then a lot more happened after that. So I don't want to give too much away. I just want to thank these incredible sisters. Please grab your tissues because this story is beautiful and it's heartbreaking. And it's just a true testament of love and the incredible bond between these 2 incredible sisters and between sisters everywhere. So I'm so glad they reached out to me. Thank you, Katie and Emily. Thank you to our mutual friend, Monica, for connecting us. And I know you guys will be super riveted throughout this whole story. So without further ado, this is Katie and Emily's infertility story. Katie and Emily, I don't think I've had sisters on the show yet. I've had best friends and I've had some couples, but this is a first. So thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. Happy to be here.
Yes. So Katie, you are in Atlanta right now, right? And Emily, you are in Paris. Tell me.
Yeah, I live in London, but I'm with my in-laws for fall break. So
amazing. So before we get started, just tell me about you guys as sisters. Who's older and what were you guys like, when you were little? Like, did you get along? Did you fight? What was the dynamic?
So this is Emily. I'm the oldest of 4. Katie and her twin, Eric, are 2.5 years younger than I am. And then we have a younger sister, Molly, that I'm almost 13 years older. She's the surprise of the family. So I guess I'm growing up. I mean, Katie will probably want to share more about this, but I guess I probably wasn't the nicest older sister. I cared more about, hanging out with my own friends and stuff, and which hurt Katie a lot. But I think as we've gotten older and matured more, we've become closer. And now that we both have young kids, we have a lot in common and a lot to share together. So
yeah, I found that with my older sister too. So my sister Kim is 4 years older than me, and we were pretty different growing up. But as soon as we both had kids, it was just brought us so much closer together, and just it was that instant bond. But you guys are also very bonded because you both have these fertility journeys. So let's start with Katie. You wrote me an email, kind of talking about how you guys wanted to share what you called a pretty crazy story. So you started it with Emily, had a pretty standard pregnancy and birth with Estelle in 2015. Correct. So do you guys want to start there and tell me kind of what happened?
Sure. So I
love
was
that name, Estelle, by the way. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, my husband's French, so our kids' names all work in both languages.
Beautiful.
So my pregnancy with Estelle was, pretty standard. I was 31 when I got pregnant with her. It only took a few months to get pregnant. Had a fairly healthy pregnancy, except towards the end, I had to be induced at 39 weeks because she was starting to stop growth. It's called IUGR. And she was born pretty small and had some blood sugar issues, but nothing crazy. And, everything was fine. So in my head, I guess I never anticipated having any issues with future pregnancies. And my plan was always wait a few years and then have another one. But I actually decided to go to nursing school after having Estelle. I had like the best postpartum nurses ever and decided that I wanted their job. And when Estelle was 2, I went back to nursing school, and the plan was always to work in like that mother baby area. And then Katie actually had her first Rowan when I was in my second to last semester of nursing school. And I was really bummed because I was in clinical and they wouldn't let me leave, and I missed the birth by an hour.
Oh, no. All right, Katie, tell me about having Rowan. Did you have a pretty easy time getting pregnant, or how was that?
Yeah, it took about 4 months, which is hilarious because I thought it was taking forever.
Right? Isn't that funny how you look back and you're like, oh my God, it's been 4 months. I'm dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was born at almost 42 weeks, and Emily was going to be my doula, and she couldn't make it because some guy got hit by a 18-wheeler
semi-truck. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I got to watch this guy come back to life. So I got to witness that, but I did miss the birth of Rowan, which is still like a major bummer.
Yeah. So then what happened? Tell me about 2019, how your world got rocked. What happened?
Yeah. So in 2019, it was February 2019, I was a few months short of finishing nursing school. And I was in the middle of my practicum. It's kind of like your last semester where you pick a specialty and that's what you focus on. And mine was labor and delivery. So I was really busy working long labor and delivery shifts. And I noticed that my stomach was growing. So I was just feeling really bloated. I'd have to unbutton my pants every time I ate. And I started to look pregnant, honestly. And my husband was like, is there any way? And I was like, no, I have an IUD, like no possible way. And I just kind of ignored it and thought it was, stress with nursing school, everything that I had on my plate. And when I showed my mom one day, she was like, you need to see the doctor, and like immediately. My mom's a nurse, and she just had a feeling that something was off. So she pushed me to go see a doctor, and I did. And they had me get a stat CT scan the next day. Mm-hmm. And when I got the results back, they found a huge tumor on my left ovary. And at the time, about 10 pounds of fluid in my abdomen, which is why I was feeling like so full and bloated.
Wow. So
yeah, it happened so quickly. It went from like, oh, I'm sure it's nothing. Like, I'm stressed. Maybe I'm not eating so great to like, this is most likely cancer. So they thought it was ovarian cancer. And I went and saw a gynecological oncologist, and we did blood work, and they had someone review my scans again. And they were like, this is not gynecological in nature. All of your tumor markers are pointing towards something in GI. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm like, what the heck is happening? They pushed me to see another surgical oncologist. And I thought it was colon cancer, which also is like another death sentence. I feel like ovarian and colon are two cancers that you don't ever want to get diagnosed with.
Yeah.
So I was lucky in that they pushed me to see him right away within a week. And when I saw him, he was like, you have appendiceal cancer. So appendix cancer, essentially. And I was like, what the heck is that? I've never heard of that in my life. And he was like, it's a very rare cancer, but we're seeing it more and more. And it's not going to be a fun treatment, but most likely you will not need systemic chemo. You'll need a huge surgery where we remove anything the cancer is touched. And that includes your ovaries, fallopian tubes. It could mean your uterus too, part of your large intestine, gallbladder, etc. And if you are planning to expand your family, then you're going to want to see someone in reproductive endocrinology ASAP.
Oh my God.
So I was just like, well, like what? Like, holy shit, what's happening? Of course I want another kid. Like, what do I have to do? And for me, I had never, even thought about REI. I had some friends that had gone through IVF, but they were very private about it. So it wasn't something that I was super familiar with. So I was like, okay, what do I need to do? And they literally found my REI for me. And before I could even make an appointment, the office called me and scheduled me an appointment. And we started an IVF protocol probably within like 4 days of my diagnosis, which is crazy.
This is all happening so fast. So tell me, just emotionally, what did it feel like to get that diagnosis and find out that you're going to have the surgery and this removed and fertility? And oh my God, you must have felt like you were hit by a ton of bricks.
A truck. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it happened so fast that it didn't give me a ton of time to like think through the whole process and like, maybe my possibility of having kids is over now. It was more like, okay, I still want to live. So just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it. And I guess the diagnosis of appendix cancer for me was like a good thing because I had already thought of every possible worst scenario with ovarian and colon cancer. And my doctor was like, this is a really great prognosis. Most likely once you have the surgery to remove all the cancer, and which also includes this heated chemo that they flush your abdomen with to get rid of any rogue cancer cells. He was like, your prognosis is good. You most likely will not need anything further after that.
Wow.
So for me, I was like, okay, well, this totally sucks, but it could be worse. Right. And I was like, I'm still going to be able to have kids. Like there's a possibility I still get to keep at least one ovary that's not touched and my uterus. So I guess I was just super optimistic in that regard. So when it came to doing IVF, instead of making embryos, I was like, I just want to do an egg retrieval. Like, I don't want to spend all this money and then not end up needing them later. Like if we decide we want embryos, we'll do it then. And so my REI was like, whatever you want to do, we'll support you in that. So that's what we chose. And I mean, I was lucky that I had really great family support. Like my parents were amazing and, immediately helped me with my older daughter, who was only 3 when we were going through this. And, said like, whatever this costs, like the egg retrieval IVF, like, we'll help you. Like, I don't want you to even worry about money right now, especially when like cancer is our main concern. But my REI was really awesome because she provided me with all of these organizations that help people going through onco-fertility. So like the cancer fertility space, which I didn't even know this was like a whole world, but it is.
Right.
So my meds were provided by the Livestrong organization, and Walgreens has a special nonprofit that helps. So pretty much all my meds were covered. And then this awesome little family nonprofit called Team Maggie gave us a couple $1,000s to go towards the retrieval. So like it just happened all so fast, but I feel like all these people just jumped in to help me and to make it work. And the plan was to do this IVF protocol to do the egg retrieval and to have my big surgery 2 days after. So,
oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. I want to put a pin in that real quick. Just shift over to Katie. So Katie, as her sister, hearing all this, what were you going through emotionally? How did you feel?
Like she said, it really happened so fast. And Rowan was a baby, and I had a full-time job.
6 months.
Yeah. And I will say, like, you were not super open about like how you were feeling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I mean, honestly, I felt so poorly that it was like if I wasn't at school or at the hospital for my clinicals, I was at home sleeping because I felt like such shit. So,
yeah.
And like, I guess I just didn't let my mind travel to that space of like, oh, what if I'll never be able to have a kid? Because in my head, I was like, there's nothing that's ever taking that away from me. Like, I'm going to have another child.
Right.
So, but Katie was like, listen, if they take your uterus away, I'll be a surrogate. And I was like, I'm not going to need that. Like, stop. But she like already jumped to that space and was like ready to do that for me.
That's incredible.
So, which was amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
All right. So Emily, back to you. They did the retrieval. Do you remember how many eggs you got? And then tell me about the surgery as well.
Yes. So they did the retrieval. My protocol actually took like 2 days longer than normal. So I had to order extra meds. I was so bloated. The day before my surgery, I literally looked about 7-8 months pregnant. Like my stomach was so distended and tight, like my belly button had completely flattened. Wow. And so on top of like all the bloating from all of this, it's called ascites, it's fluid in the abdomen, you get bloated from all the retrieval drugs. So I'm sure all of that combined just made it worse. But I had the retrieval 2 days later than we anticipated. And my surgeon, who doesn't even usually operate on Fridays, like changed his schedule just for me so that he could operate on me 2 days after the retrieval, because I didn't want to do like back to back 2 days in a row. It was a lot.
Right.
I had the retrieval. I got 7 eggs because I only had one good ovary. And at the time, I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, yay, 7 eggs. Like, I didn't know anything about the IVF process that much, except for like giving myself injections. I didn't know what was good. So I was like, that's 7 possibilities for me to have a child later. And we kind of, we froze them and that was it. And, I was like, this is for later. Well, now I have to focus on like getting better.
Right.
So that was that. And then I had my surgery 2 days later. It was a 9-hour surgery. And I spent 9 days in the hospital and about 3 months recovering off after that, because there was so much involvement with my GI tract. Eating and going to the bathroom were major issues. And so I've like never experienced more abdominal pain in my life. I lost about 40 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And I could barely like walk up the street without having pain, but I was still able to.
Time in your life where we had to force you to move.
Yeah, like I'm super active in general. Like I'm the one that forces my family to do boot camp on vacation. Like I'm one of those annoying people. Right. So for them to be like, come on, take a walk, and me being like, I really don't want to. And they're like, you have to get up. You have to take a walk. Like you're never going to get better if you don't do this was weird for me.
Right. So in the surgery, they did end up taking your ovaries, correct?
Yeah. So they ended up taking both my ovaries, both my fallopian tubes, but they did leave my uterus. And it's funny because in the middle of the surgery, my oncologist called my REI and was like, I could take the uterus or I could leave it. Like, what do you think? And she was like, absolutely leave it. And he was like, okay.
Oh, wow. I love that they consulted each other. That's so cool.
I know. We have an amazing teaching hospital, like basically in our backyard in Atlanta called Emory University. And I received such good care. Like I'd never had to like share my story with a new doctor because they all were talking before I even would get to appointments, which
That's incredible.
Feel like is often rare. So I was really, really lucky in that regard. But yeah, healing totally sucked, but I didn't have to go through systemic chemo, which was major. lose my hair or anything like that. It was more, I got cut open literally from the sternum to my pubic bone. So I have like a Frankenstein scar on my abdomen.
Wow.
And it should be noted that you finished nursing school as you were healing.
Oh my gosh, you're amazing.
So, well, I was lucky that I finished all my clinical hours for that practicum before my diagnosis. So really I had just exams and things, and my university was really good with allowing me to do stuff from a distance and like taking my time turning in papers. But I got everything finished before graduation, and I graduated on time, which was huge, because a lot of people in this appendix cancer space told me there was no way that I would make it. But I was determined to prove him wrong and finish. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happened a little bit down the road with your frozen eggs, and did you end up making embryos, or what happened?
Yeah. So my husband and I had known that when I was finished with school that we wanted to start again to have a family. So I had my REI was like, I just need your oncologist's blessing. Like, I want him to give me the go ahead that we can do this and that it's safe. So he wanted me to have a clean CT scan at 6 months post surgery. So I did. My scan was clean. He gave me his blessing. And within a month of that, we started the protocol for an embryo transfer. So we did make embryos. And my REI was always really honest with me. She was like, listen, 7 eggs, like it could go either way. The best case scenario would be you get 7 eggs turns into 5 embryos, which turns into on day 5, 2 to 3 blasts. And maybe you have 1 to transfer and 1 to freeze. That would be best case. Mm-hmm. And she was like, plan B would be you get only 1 embryo and we transfer it and see if it happens. And she was like, plan C would be egg donor, which Katie and I had always discussed this. And she was like, if you need me, I'll always be your egg donor. And I was like, okay, like, it's good to know. But in my mind, I was like, no way. Like, I have all these eggs. I'm sure it's going to happen. Right. Like, I just never let myself go there. Right. I guess.
So Katie, tell me about the egg donation conversation. It sounds like you had no hesitation. Like, you're like, I'll do anything for my sister and for her to have more kids. Was that how you felt?
Well, I mean, absolutely. I should note that my mom was, I think when the conversation started to happen, or like with her diagnosis and the possibility of her ovaries being removed and her uterus, my mom was like, well, your sisters will help you. And
right. Wait, what?
Me and my little sister were like, well, of course, like, you don't even have to say that. Yeah, there was never any question. I mean, my little sister, she would have been happy to help, but she has narcolepsy. So medically it would have just been like super, and she's in New York City. So logistics.
It would have been more complicated. And usually they like the donor to already have been a parent.
Right.
Because there's a lot of like psychological stuff involved, obviously. But yeah, that was always like, both of my sisters were like, whatever you need from us, if you ever need it, like, we're here. And so I was like, okay, that's good to know. But like, I'm not going to need you. It's all going to go perfect. So when we set up for the transfer, we you have like the day where you make the embryos. So like my husband went in, that was like day 1 or day zero. And the plan was for a Friday transfer, like off the 5-day blastocyst day. Well, on day 2, I had worked night shift at the hospital the night before. So I was like in the deepest sleep ever. I woke up randomly and I saw that I had like 7 missed calls on my phone. And when I listened to voicemail, it was my REI being like, Emily, I don't have good news. Out of your 7 eggs, we only have 2 embryos on day 2 and they're not looking good. So you have 2 choices. You can see if they grow to day 5 blasts, or you can come in today and do a transfer for day 2. Sometimes the human body is like a better incubator than a Petri dish. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm like half asleep. So I call her and I was like, well, what would you tell me what to do? Like, I don't know what I don't know what to do. Like, you tell me what you think. And she was like, if it were me, I would come today.
Oh,
and I was
wow.
like, okay. I was like, okay. So my husband and I rushed over to the hospital and they prepped me for a transfer, and we did it and just hoped for the best. But unfortunately, found out it didn't work. A week later, I did take a home pregnancy test just because I was not feeling any symptoms, and I just had a feeling. And then when I did get the blood test and my nurse called me, I was like, I know it didn't work. And she was like, I'm so sorry. And then,
yeah.
My REI called me, and of course I like broke down with her on the phone. Like, I was like, how do you even do this for a job? Like, this is like the hardest job, telling people like that their family plan isn't working out like they thought. And she calmed me down and was like, listen, we had always talked about your sister being the plan C. If you want to make that happen, I want both of you to come in my office next week. And I feel like it's going to give you like some bit of like hope to this process. And that's how this next step happened.
Wow.
Pretty much.
It's so incredible. I love your doctors. I mean, I really, I think there's so many moments where you're like, tell me what to do. I mean, I felt that so much when I was going through this.
Yeah.
Well. I'm so glad that they were giving you this great sound advice. So, okay.
Yeah. And my doctor's amazing. Like I have her cell phone number. I can even text her if I want to. Like, I honestly, I put all my trust in her, and also because Emory's a teaching hospital and it's not like they're trying to do IVF for a profit. I just felt like she had my interests at heart. So yeah, I fully trust her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's amazing. She's now my sister's REI, which we'll get into, but, yeah, we love her.
All right. So Katie, so now you guys both go in together, you do a retrieval and that whole process. How did that go?
It was kind of wild. I think that I definitely like kind of disconnected. Like, I can't even tell you how many eggs were retrieved or like, yeah. But I remember like sitting in the office and then going through everything. And, we had to go see like a counselor. There were like lawyers involved. It was kind of crazy.
Right. I have to.
I feel like they don't prep you a lot. Like, I hadn't ever heard about all this, the therapy aspect or the legal aspect. So like, I had to get an attorney to basically allow me to adopt Katie's eggs.
Okay.
And which was expensive, by the way, but the REI won't allow you to move forward until you do that. But there's attorneys, like, they specialize in egg and embryo adoption, and you basically fill out all the paperwork and make sure both parties agree. And I even told Katie, like, if say we get like a shit ton of eggs, like, do you want half of them for yourself? And she was like so adamant that she would never need them. And was like, no, like, these are yours. I'm not going to need them. And I was like, okay, because like I would put that into this legal thing, and make sure. And she said no. And we also both had to go to a counselor therapist that specializes in, different families, I guess, like whether it be adoption or embryo adoption or whatnot. And we had to see her separately. And really, it's just to ask like a lot of important questions that you might not have thought about. Like, say you're at a family reunion and you look across the table and you see your sister's kid that's actually half you. Like, are you going to be like, that's my child? Like stuff like that.
Right.
To our spouses,
that's what I was going to ask next, is tell me how the husbands felt. Was there any convincing that needed to happen, or were they on board?
And Brad, he was very much like, it's your body, your choice. Like, I fully support whatever you choose to do.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza. Or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.
And my husband was more like, well, that's weird. It's like, I slept with your sister. Like my husband's so goofy that he's so fucking awkward. He always asks, he just makes the weirdest comments and we're just like, shut up, John.
I think that's, I feel like some guys would think that though. So I'm glad you said that, like it's kind of,
he's like, people are going to think that's so weird. I'm like, I do not give a shit what anyone thinks. Like, this is our family. And this is, my sister is my closest genetic match. Like, would you prefer me to use a stranger? And some people feel differently about that. They feel like if they use a family member, they'll owe them something for life, which I can understand that depending on the relationship you have with your sibling. But I don't know, Katie's special. I feel like if I had needed an arm, she would have cut one off and given it to me. So we just,
I don't know about
I don't know. We've never felt, I've never felt like Katie would think I owed her something, even though I do owe her so much, but I don't feel like it's something that she would hold against me in any way. So, but I don't know, Katie, Katie was kind of private with with the conversation with the therapist. I don't know, Katie, what do you think about that?
No, I guess this goes later, but like I don't know how to explain it, but like once the eggs left my body, they were no longer mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And spoiler alert, she had a baby.
Yeah.
I love Lucy like as my niece, and I feel nothing more than like that familial love for her.
That's so interesting. So you guys did the retrieval and the transfer, and on the first transfer, did it worked?
Yeah. So we did a fresh transfer. I forget how many eggs Katie got, but we got 4 embryos. So they picked the best one and they froze 3 and it worked. And I kind of had a feeling this time because I was like just feeling, all the pregnancy symptoms, like super tired and bloated and off. But because of what happened the first round, I don't know. I feel like the entire pregnancy, I was like holding my breath. Like I wasn't ready to get excited. I didn't want anyone touching my stomach, but I'm kind of like that anyway. And COVID. until she was in my arms, I was like, this is I don't see this as the real deal.
Yes. I think that's so common that people feel that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it was kind of a running joke with my husband and my sister that he was like, what if the baby comes out with red hair? Because Katie's son Rowan has like the most fiery red hair.
Yeah.
And he was like, if we have a redhead, you're going to take it back. Like, ha ha ha. Aww. And Lucy is a redhead, which
is my hysterical. Gosh, so cute. So Lucy was born. How was that when she was born? How did you guys feel? So
I got diagnosed with gestational hypertension at 31 weeks. I work in mother baby at the hospital, so it wasn't like that big of a surprise to me. I kind of felt off. I took my blood pressure at work and I was like, well, that's not good. And then it kind of went downhill from there. So I got put on bed rest, modified bed rest, which means you're still allowed to like get up and walk around, but you're not supposed to exercise or work, which was really hard for me because I'm really active. And at 33 weeks, I got hospitalized for good, where they're like, you're not leaving until you have a baby. We're going to try to get you to 36 weeks, but we'll see. And then at 35 weeks, my blood pressure spiked and they couldn't get it to go back down. So I knew that I was going to have to be induced and that Lucy would most likely be in the NICU for, being premature and her size. So I ended up having her at 35 weeks, 2 days. And she came out kicking and screaming that she was a peanut. So she was 3 pounds, 13 ounces. Went to the NICU, but mostly for size. So it was breathing on her own, eating on her own, just needed to gain a little bit of weight, which she did. And we were able to take her home after, I think, 8 days, something like that. But I feel like it was just like this long anticipated thing. Like my whole family was waiting on this miracle baby and we were all just really excited to meet her and bring her home and for everyone to get to know her.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Katie, were you there when she was born?
No, because with COVID protocol, I mean, they wouldn't let anyone go in.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let my husband come until I was like actually being induced. So I spent a week in the hospital by myself in like a tiny room, and I wasn't allowed to leave it because of COVID. It was pretty much torture.
That is torturous. Oh my gosh. All right. So now you've got Estelle and Lucy, and Katie, you've got Rowan, and then you decided that you guys wanted to have more kids, right? Or maybe not, you didn't decide just then, but you wanted to have more kids all along. So what happened, Katie, with you and your husband as you guys, pursued more family building?
Yeah. So I think as we were going through the egg donation process, we're like, okay, well, now that we've helped them on their family, like we'll try to grow our family. And we had a big trip planned for April of 2020 to Scotland. And we're like, all right, going to go on this amazing trip, come back, and it's going to all happen. So the plan was, to go to Scotland, come back, and then, get to work. And then COVID hit in March. So all plans got canceled. And so the discussion was then, okay, well, let's go ahead then try it now. But with COVID, with the shutdown, I had an IUD even through the egg donation, which I think was really cool. But I couldn't get an appointment to get it removed because it was not an emergency until July. So once July hit, I was finally able to get an appointment. I think we tried for 2 months. And then got pregnant. And I remember texting Emily, and she was like, wow, that was quick. And we were, I guess, pregnant for a little bit at the same time.
Wow.
And that was exciting. I got my son one of those Big Brother t-shirts.
Right.
Everything went perfectly when I was pregnant with Rowan. So I was like, all right, we're not going to have any problems. So I told family, I told my parents, I told our in-laws. And I'm a big proponent of telling people earlier rather than later. But I guess around 6 weeks, I started cramping and spotting. And I went in. They were like, it could just be early. Let's wait, follow the HCG levels. And then I kept bleeding and spotting. And it was a miscarriage. And then, that sucked.
I'm so sorry.
I think we were all pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Actually.
I remember calling you and Mom, right, Emily? Right after I left.
About your HCG levels, and you were like, it's not looking good. And we were like, things do happen. It's like if you're Googling the scenarios where someone's HCG is low and goes up, you can find those stories if you look for them. So
completely. Yes. That's the beauty of the internet. You can kind of find it.
Yeah. It's you find what you're looking for. So you always hold out this.
Right. Yeah,
hope,
totally.
But then I think maybe your second or third blood draw, they confirmed it, which was really shitty. But I don't know, Katie, you were just like, it's okay. It's early. These things happen.
Yeah. I'm very much of that mindset. All right, it's just a blip in the road on this journey. It was bound to happen to one of us.
Right. So just for timeline purposes, I know we already talked about you having Lucy, but you were pregnant with Lucy still, Emily?
I think I was pregnant, and she had her miscarriage a couple weeks before I had Lucy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Her first miscarriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you were just like, this happens. We're going to go, we'll do it again. Here we go.
And I literally got pregnant 2 weeks later.
Wow.
Was it that fast? Holy shit.
Yeah, it was that fast. And I I was a lot more guarded at that time because you were in the hospital and I didn't want to like stress you out, or my parents were already stressed about you or Emily. So I kept it very much to myself. And then I went in for like the 7-week scan, and I had to go. I don't know why I went to 7 weeks. I should have just like waited and not been disappointed. But so I went in at 7 weeks, and the OB didn't see much of anything. So I went and got another scan, and they still didn't see anything. And they're like, well, it could just be early. And it's like, I fucking know my dates. I'm not an idiot.
Right. Yes. Totally.
And like, okay, well, we'll just, watch your HCG. If you like start bleeding, like come on in again. And then I, of course, started cramping and bleeding on Halloween. So I guess like just a year ago. And yeah, I remember just like, we didn't celebrate Halloween at all. My son, he might have just like felt the energy, but he did not want to wear his Winnie the Pooh costume. So we literally just sat inside on Halloween last year and like cuddled all in bed and like cried.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Did Rowan know that you were pregnant?
No, I mean, he was 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what, Emily, I told you guys like after the fact that I had been pregnant. I don't really remember.
Mm-hmm.
You had just had.
Yeah, you were like, I was, but I think I'm having you said like nothing's confirmed 100%. We're waiting on my HCG levels, but like most likely it's like ending in miscarriage. So it was kind of like the same exact thing that happened as the first time. And we were all like, dang, that's shocking. Like what?
Yeah.
Like how can you have like a textbook first pregnancy, no problem getting pregnant, and then now it's like you're the unlucky one in whatever, because like a first miscarriage is very common, but once you hit like 2+, it's like you become more and more rare. Which Katie's OB was trying to explain to her, be like, you're probably just unlucky. Like,
right.
There's not something wrong with you. Probably just unlucky.
Right. It's so frustrating when doctors say that. It's just bad luck. You're just on the wrong side of the numbers. But then it happens over and over. And you're like, all right, how many fucking times can I be on the wrong side of the numbers? So Katie, were you guys motivated to get like tests done or figure out what, because now you're veering into like recurrent pregnancy loss territory, right?
Yes. So after the second one, it was like, oh shit, something might be wrong. I had done testing before I did the egg retrieval, and the only thing that was off was my thyroid, but they had put me on Synthroid. But I think I had gotten off of it because I went and saw my doctor, my primary care physician, about it. And he was like, oh, these numbers look fine. Fast forward to later, and I read all of this research about like what your levels should be when you're trying to get pregnant, and they were not in that area at all. So
never trust your primary care doctor and advocate for yourself, as I feel like it's a recurrent theme on this show. It's like do your own research, because my RE from the beginning was like, I can't believe your doctor hasn't even put you on Synthroid in the first place, and like made like, then Katie was like, am I silly for like not asking about this? I'm like, you couldn't have known these things. So yeah.
But yeah, so I went ahead and like got tested for a bunch of things. And the only thing was, again, like the thyroid was like a maybe. And then the AMA, Emily, it's like the sticky blood. What's it?
It was like the cardiomyopathy, something, I don't know. Has to do, how like people have clotting, like a clotting disorder, and a lot of people end up taking like Lovenox shots during pregnancy. It was that. So like, Katie and I'm the one that's like researching this, and I'm like texting my RE, and she's like, it could be that. She's like, if your sister's ready to come see me at any time, I'm happy to see her. But Katie was like, still like, no, we're not there yet. Like, I want to stay with my regular OB, and we're going to run some more tests and see what happens. So,
yes. Well, it should be noted that like I had Kaiser insurance, and not great.
Yeah.
Coverage wise for infertility, which honestly, most insurances suck for that stuff anyway. So
yeah. So we got the testing done and waited until like it basically showed like there's basically no reason why you had these 2 miscarriages. So then we started trying in 2021. After I think it took us a few months, and then I was pregnant in April, and that was exciting because I was like, all right, 3rd time's a charm. This is it. Like, and then that one, I think I started bleeding and spotting at about 5 weeks. So,
gosh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I find it really annoying. Well, at that point, my OB was like, "All right, now we can refer you to an RE." So I went to the one that they referred us to, and oh my God, it was like a horrible experience. I cried because you're like talking about these hard things, and I talked about like the latest miscarriage, and he's like, "Oh, well, that's not technically a miscarriage. It's a chemical pregnancy, blah, blah, blah."
Oh, can I say something? I fucking hate that. They're all losses. Like, why do they have to be one's diminished because it was only X amount of weeks? Like chemical, blighted ovum, miscarriage, like all that. I feel like they should all just be under the umbrella term of miscarriage.
It's a loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like even with a transfer, like a failed transfer is a loss.
Yes. Or an embryo that doesn't make a thaw, or an embryo that doesn't make it past day X. Yeah. I think we need to broaden these terms because it just really makes people feel like shit.
Yeah. I mean,
the guy was just super, I'm sure he's not a bad doctor. He's just very clinical, but he had no emotional response, like not like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you've gone through this. It must be really hard for your family." He was just like, "Okay, well, this is what I recommend. You have to do IVF." And, this, like, he was just very direct and, like, he just wasn't the right fit for you, obviously.
No. And I was 34 when I talked to him, and he said basically that, it could just be that my eggs are old. And I was like, well, I just donated eggs to my sister. And
yeah.
Does that not mean anything? And he was like, no. Like, okay.
Right. So just out of curiosity, I know you had said those were all going to be Emily's. Did you have any left, or were you ever tempted to dip back into that, or is that just like off the table completely?
Well, so at that time, after the 3rd miscarriage, I kept kind of flashing back to sitting in the Ari's office, and she asked what do you want to do with any remainder? And I was like, well, we didn't have any issues getting pregnant the first time. And I don't want to pay money to freeze them. That's just silly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then fuck.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of wish I wish I would have said something different.
Yeah. But how are you to know?
Yeah. Yeah. So we did all the typical tests after that, the sonohistogram and the HSG and all that stuff. And basically everything came back unexplained, which, yeah, it just doesn't make sense having 3 pretty similar miscarriages all
around the same exact time.
Never saw her on any. So
yeah. Okay. So you guys right now, you're still kind of just pursuing this naturally. Is that right, Katie?
Yeah. So when my RE recommended, when I moved REs to now, Emily and I share the same one. She recommended waiting until my thyroid levels were within a certain range. So once that happened, we decided to start trying again naturally. And then 3 months later, I contacted the RE just to say like, I cannot handle this anymore. Like,
Yeah.
it's been way too long. I want this period of my life to be over, because it sucks. And she was like, I totally get that. How about we do 2 IUIs? If those don't work, you take like a small break over Christmas and then we'll discuss IVF. And I was like, that works for me.
Yep.
But it's also worth noting that she said, if you do end up getting pregnant, you need to come in right away. We're going to run all your numbers and I'm going to put you on blood thinners. So,
okay.
But you didn't get pregnant, but she didn't get pregnant naturally. So it didn't happen.
So have you had any of the IUIs yet? Or that's next?
One IUI that did not work.
Okay.
And then I'm set to have another IUI beginning of next week. So
Oh wow. So you're still in the thick of all this.
I'm definitely in the thick of it, which I feel like is important to share. I feel like you hear so many of the end of the story.
Yeah.
Baby, or you've chosen to take another route.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Being in the thick of it is like definitely a different perspective because there's so many unknowns and just like, I don't want this to last forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it won't, but at this point, it's like,
feels like forever.
Feels like absolutely forever.
It does. And even like every week that goes by or every month, you're like, oh, that's another month. It could have been this. And, you see all these milestones and holidays. And it's just like, it feels like time is moving so slowly, but also like flying by on another level.
Yeah. I think also with your second, which like Allie, I'm sure you know this well. It's like that widening age gap. Like you had all this plans in your head. Like, oh my God, my kids are going to be 3 years apart. And then you're like, well, fuck, I guess now they're going to be 4 years apart. Like, are they even going to be friends? They're going to like each other. And for me, I let that go by going to nursing school. But in my head, I was like, my kids will be like max 5 years apart. And when we had our failed embryo transfer and that, like the school year birth date requirements, like we passed that. And it's like, I'm still angry now about that my daughter was born past the school deadline of September 1st, because now my kids are 6 years apart in school instead of 5.
I get that.
Like, had it worked, it's like, it's so stupid. Like I'm so happy that
it's not
worked.
You can feel
here.
But here's the thing I've learned is you can feel grateful that you have these 2 kids, but also pissed off that you didn't have them when you wanted to have them, you can have all of those emotions and that's valid.
Yeah.
I know my kids are,
and I know Katie,
mine are 7 years apart in school.
Yeah. And I'm sure they'll be like besties later. And like, none of this will matter because Katie and I's younger sisters, over 10 years younger and we're all super close. So it doesn't matter. But with Katie, so she's like trying to get pregnant again. And I'm, I'm sure she's wanting to like hit that September deadline for the second one. And it's like, that date is slowly fading away. Like if it doesn't happen soon. So it's like,
I get it.
Super, super frustrating.
Yeah.
Katie, I'm sure you think about that a lot.
I mean, I'll be honest, I wasn't thinking about the September.
Now you are.
Thanks for giving me something to worry about.
Oh my God. Spoken like true sisters, right?
Sorry.
Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing this story. And Katie, we will all obviously continue to root for you and please keep in touch and let us know what's happening if you feel comfortable with that. But I think it's so, there's nothing like a bond between sisters. And I feel so lucky to have one and stepsisters as well and a stepbrother. But, it's just, I think how you've supported each other and what you've done for each other along the way has just been really inspiring and cool. So any last thoughts for anybody that might be listening?
This is Emily. I was just going to say that, like, I feel, super lucky that Katie is my sister and that she was able to give our family this gift. And I know it's been especially hard for Katie as she's gone through all of these losses and, wondering if she'll ever be able to expand her family. But for me, I guess there is some type of sadness and guilt that like she gave us this amazing gift and, now she's suffering herself.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to see someone go through that, especially your sister. And for me personally, I'm like, no, you're not giving up until you have number two. And Katie's like, you know what, if it doesn't work out, we have this great kid. And I'm like, no, you're not letting it go. Like, this is going to happen. Like, it doesn't matter, money wise, our whole family will support you financially if it's like a money thing. And my husband even joked the other day, he was like, do you want your sister to carry your baby? And I was like, oh, God damn it. Like, I don't want to be pregnant again. But I would carry your baby. Like, what a weird story that would be, right?
That would be crazy.
Yeah. So,
my gosh.
But
Kate, any final thoughts from you?
No, I mean, I would do it again in a heartbeat. Lucy is amazing. And our family is a little bit obsessed with her. So, yeah.
All right, everybody. Was that not fucking amazing? I just love these sisters and they're so incredible. I'm just really grateful that they shared that with us today. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you again to them for reaching out. If you like this podcast, please go to Apple and give it a quick review and rating. It really helps us get noticed. And I also want to thank you guys just for your ongoing support throughout the last, year and a half plus. We've recently hit over 500,000 global downloads, which is insane. And I'm just really grateful for each and every one of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Love you guys. And I will talk to you next time.
The stockings are hung and the shopping has begun. This holiday season, shop Cincinnati favorite gift cards at Kroger. Grab a gift card to La Rosa's and enjoy a warm slice of pizza, or snag a gift card to Grater's and treat yourself to something sweet. Whoever you're shopping for, you'll earn 4 times fuel points on Cincinnati favorite gift cards. Head over to giftcards.kroger.com/Cincinnati-favorites to complete your shopping list and support our local businesses. Available in Cincinnati, Columbus, and Louisville markets only. Restrictions apply. See website for details.